All right, what's up, y'all? Uh, in regards to my cold or whatever it is I'm sick from, or whatever my ailment is, I'm feeling much better. I'm out here working out and doing these, like, I guess you could say, like, sandbag, one leg RDLs, or what do they call these? Like, just one leg stiff RDLs, whatever. Um, I'm getting much better, but my nose is like just really runny, so that could just like I might just have like some type of cold or whatever the case may be, but hopefully it's not something that persists. But in regards to these RDOs here, I did notice like with my balance is like dookie water, uh, especially on my left foot, my left leg. I have very poor balance, which is very interesting because another thing about my left leg is that I lack mobility. So I don't have the best mobility in my left leg, like hamstring mobility, ankle mobility, things like that. So it's kind of interesting that the stiffer that the joints are on that limb, that the less stable it is. Maybe that also just shows like which leg I might use more than the other one. Maybe I have some type of dominant leg that I use a lot more. Maybe that's due to driving. Driving could be a factor into that, since I'm using my left, not my left, but my right foot to, like, press and brake, stuff like that. So maybe that's kind of like making my right leg, sorry, a bit more dominant. I'm not sure. But I should definitely probably try and do a bit more unilateral work in order to fix those discrepancies, fix those issues, because balance is very important. You can see here literally just getting thrown off. Like I'm some like old guy who just like can't just stand up straight. Balance is definitely important for longevity, because like you don't want to be some old fart who like falls over, and then you live to like 99 years old. You fall over because you tripped on like a, I don't know, a fold in the carpet or something, and then now boom, that's it. When right before you tried to live to 100. But um, one thing, so like one thing I was thinking of, so a lot of my, when it comes to my schooling and stuff like that, a lot of that is having to, I guess, put away a lot of other things in life. So there's social aspects, there's sleep, there's food, like eating. Like I haven't sacrificed my food quality, but in terms of when I eat and how often I eat, because it's like a lot of the meals that I have, I'm gonna have to cook them right. So when it comes to cooking, cooking isn't like super um, convenient because it takes up time. So it's like you really have to make sure you dedicate time towards out of the week, or maybe multiple times out of the week, to where you're trying to do kind of like a meal plan thing. And so that's something I'm definitely gonna have to work on myself as well. But this is all relating to how I got sick. So I feel like I got sick because I wasn't focusing on those things as I was in school. And I definitely do believe that this is something that, like, it could have been in my control. I could have done a lot better. Even with my own sleep, I feel like I could have done a lot better. Maybe I could have, like, uh, tried better when it came to, like, procrastination, try to cut all of that out. Try to really make sure that I get things done at a certain time so I can make sure I go to sleep at a certain time, instead of like keeping myself up, stuff like that. Just doing better in order for me to take care of myself while also getting on top of things. One thing I mentioned in, I don't know if it was my last video or not, but I do remember mentioning, when I started taking care of my health, how I kind of started to become more focused on the health of others around me, especially my family, because, of course, it's like that's my family. Those are the people that are the most immediate to me. So it would make sense for me to want to focus on how well they're doing and whatnot. So, but when it comes to that, it doesn't take you until you try to and search those things out on your own, right? So when you're getting on in your own fitness and health journey, you're realizing that like wow, like me eating cereal every morning was like poisoning my body. Wow, me staying up till 3 a.m. on my phone doing nothing was like horrible for my health. Wow, me, doing just all these other things, stuff like that. Things that you thought were just normal parts of everyday life. And then you actually start to question them. And now all of a sudden it's like, your entire life has changed, for the better, for the most part. And you want to kind of help, those around you, right? It's kind of like a natural thing, right? When you have the knowledge and you have the type of open heart, in order to do so, you want to be able to share that knowledge, especially towards your loved ones, like friends and family. So, uh, like I always try and point out things that like my mom does or that my dad does, and like, hey, there's a better option, stuff like this. There are things like that. There are things out here that you guys can do instead, and they might even come to me for advice when it comes to health and nutrition and working out because they know that they don't know like a lot about that stuff. So they want to come to me about it, and that makes me very I guess I could say like proud in myself that like I have like people who I went to for like literally everything because I was a child, um, and that are coming to me for some type of advice and whatnot. So and I just feel like it's just my duty as like the son to these people, to my mother and my father, that I should be able to try and help them take care of themselves as well, as they get into older age and as I get as I mature into an adult. But like before they even came to me asking about this stuff, I would like go to my sister, talk to my parents, just kind of have conversations like, hey, I've heard like stuff like this, and I've seen stuff like, oh, we're not supposed to be eating this or drinking this or doing that, um, because it's like when you take care of yourself, when you start to take care of yourself, you notice all of like the kind of the crap that's been fed to us, um, whether we know it or not. You're going to want to point that out to others, right? It's kind of like as if you're like trying to expose the truth basically, and the first people you might want to expose the truth to are like loved ones, people who are also probably immediately affected in that situation. So it was very important to me to be able to try and get like my father's health, my mother's health, my sister's health, um, towards the right direction, because it's like it's like again, we've been living our whole lives doing normal things. Now, I'm not saying it's like if you're gonna do this as well, like if you're like me, if you're a young person, whatever, it's not gonna be easy because I know that for a fact. And I'm not saying this about my parents, but I know that for a fact that when you're trying to convince older people, like people that are over the age of like maybe in their like over whatever ages you would consider like your mid 30s maybe, um, it is harder to try and make them switch their ways at least entirely, because when it comes to young people like teenagers, 20-year-olds, uh, it's very easy for us to kind of make a sudden switch, like almost completely to do a complete 180 from like child to adult, um, because it's like we don't have any set belief systems or things like that because we're still finding out about the world and finding out about ourselves, and we haven't formed, at least not yet, we haven't formed any like habits or things like that that we will be carrying with us for the rest of our lives. So it's like for me at the age of 17, it was very easy for me to be like, okay, I gotta stop doing this, I gotta start eating this, I gotta start doing more research into this, I gotta start doing these exercises, blah blah blah. But for someone who's older, for someone who has already lived their life thinking that the way they live is like okay and that there's nothing wrong with it, they're going to have a much harder time trying to, you could say, convert. They're going to have a much harder time trying to switch over to a lot of these things because it's so set into basically who they are as a person. If you ever heard like an older person say, "Oh, I can't go without my whatever," "Oh, I can't go without my pork grinds," whatever the case may be, that's because they're just so set in their ways, and that it's like these things, these habits of theirs, these poor life choices, even are a part of them as to who they are. They're a part of their own personality. Sorry if I sound funny. My nose is very congested. And I'm just mouth breathing right now, and I don't want to like inhale too hard or whatever because is of course I don't want that on the in the footage. So, but I'm gonna keep going on. So it's gonna be a lot harder for someone older. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible. You could always People could always make that change. I'm not saying that people over the age of 35 can't make that switch. Uh, but more than likely, is going to be not as easy to make. Like, because again, young people, we can make boom, switch, boom. Like the one, like in a week, boom, a sudden switch like that. Just all of a sudden, it's like we're a completely different person. But like for someone who's much older, it's gonna take a lot more time because it's like they're regaining or they're redeveloping a whole new version of themselves, uh, because they just had to take apart and really analyze the last version of themselves. But with young people, we don't have a version of ourselves. We don't have an old version of ourselves. We are constantly always forming new versions of ourselves, or adding parts to ourselves, basically because we haven't even fully formed into actualized adults. Um, and that same like in the same way, that's just how people are too. Like we're always forming things that add to our experiences. We're always forming ways to actually better ourselves. I mean, well, maybe not everybody. Some people don't consciously go out of their way to do things that better themselves. Things kind of just happen. Um, but we're always constantly changing and shifting and things like that. But our mindset is what is going to either propel us forward or to keep us where we have been. And some people, I feel like a lot of people don't realize what it is that's keeping them back, and that's them. People don't realize that they're getting in their own way of themselves, that they're getting in the way of their own progress, their own betterment, and because they have these mindsets and beliefs that are so ingrained into, or that they feel are so ingrained as to who they are, that it's going to be that much harder for them to switch over, and or just to do better practices. And that's because it's like it's just much older, and it's like that's how they've been living their life for the past 25 years or whatever the case may be. But for a child, it's like, well, I've only been living like this ever since I gained consciousness at the age of like 4 years old or 5 years old or whatever. But I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm not saying it's impossible. If you're like me, if you're in my situation, whatever the case may be, please do encourage your parents, your family members, older people within your family. Of course, encourage your friends, um, and don't just speak about it too. You got to do it as well. You got to do it as well. My dad is over here trying, staying consistent, trying to get like his young self, and that's because he sees me. He sees me every day, working out every day, out here every day. He watches my videos. He watches my videos. He watches my videos every day. So he sees the proof of the work that I'm putting in every single day. So it makes him motivated. My mother, my mother is doing a lot better with in regards to her health. My friends, they tell me that I have motivated them greatly, and they can see what it is that I'm doing. I'm always updating them. We're always talking to each other on like text messages and whatnot, and we're always like telling each other of our progress. And so it's like If you want the people, the important people in your life to make those proper changes, those changes that you think will benefit them, you kind of have to show them as well. So, and the way you can show them is through you, by being the person who is showing the results, right? Mom, dad, I want you guys to exercise more. It'll be, just great for your mental health. And then let's say maybe a year, 2 years down the line, you become a lot better and with your mental health because you start exercise. Mom, dad, I want you guys to eat healthier. And then a year down the line, your parents start to eat healthier because they see the benefits through you, right? And these things take time, It's not gonna take a day for your parents to be like, you know what? Yeah, you're right. It's gonna take years because it's gonna take you years to progress in all of these things. It's gonna take you years to progress in your exercise journey and eating right and stuff like this and journaling or reading books. It's gonna take years. So in order for people to see a more complete version of what they have in their mind, that's gonna take time to see that through you, right? So when my friends started to see a lot more complete physique from me, they became a lot more motivated. When my family members started to see just a lot more completeness, well rounded, they started to become motivated for me. So in order for people to follow you and to follow your advice, you have to be consistent in it yourself. You can't just be preaching, preaching, preaching and never practicing. So yeah, just go out there, get work done, and people will follow. People will follow where they see results.